A high school boy gets caught up in dangerous dealings and lands in prison. Everyone thinks he's just another kid, until they discover he's the most brutal fighter they've ever faced. James Burns, a high school student recently released on parole from juvenile detention, is still under strict court supervision, which means he's required to wear an ankle monitor at all times. His mother, Tracy, is determined to get him back into education and has been trying to enroll him in the nearest high school. Unfortunately, the school rejects his application, citing his criminal history. James's record isn't minor. It includes unpredictable and violent incidents. In one serious case, he took part in a robbery and assault that nearly cost someone their life. Tracy is crushed by the school's refusal, especially since James passed a psychological evaluation, showing he's ready to return to a regular academic environment. But the school stands firm, advising him to try somewhere else. Feeling shut out and discouraged, James grows resentful. Even though he's technically free, he isolates himself at home, believing the world won't accept him. Tracy tries to reassure him, urging patience and good behavior, while she searches for another school. Still under the ankle monitor restrictions, James spends most of his time indoors without friends. One evening, James notices they're out of milk and heads to the nearest store, knowing he has to return before 8 p.m. to avoid triggering the monitor. While there, he unexpectedly gets tangled up with troublemakers in a petty theft. Instead of walking away, he feels a rush of excitement and joins them. They introduce themselves as Crystal and Manny, and the three spend the night roaming the city, smoking joints and enjoying freedom, well past his curfew. By the next morning, Crystal invites James to a friend's house. With no parents around, Crystal helps herself to expensive liquor and, along with Manny, steals jewelry and personal items from Cynthia's family. Cynthia stays silent, frightened. After leaving, the group continues hanging out. Crystal mentions someone named Rock, saying he'd probably like James if it weren't for the ankle monitor. Manny explains Rock is the local contraband dealer they all work for as couriers. Later, at home, James forgets to throw away a bottle, and Tracy finds it. She's furious and disappointed. She's been working hard to help him build a normal life. "You know how much I've done to get you into school," she says angrily. James feels hopeless and insists no school will take him, and he's tired of judgment. Frustrated by rules and feeling trapped, he decides to stop trying to play by them. Finally worn down, Tracy says, "Fine, go ahead and ruin your life." That moment is a turning point. In defiance, James cuts off his ankle monitor and heads to Rock's hangout, the place Crystal and Manny told him about. Boldly, he asks Rock for work, claiming he has brains, hustle, and more reliability than anyone in Rock's crew. To test him, Rock points a gun at James, but James doesn't flinch. The next day, James calls his mother to say he won't be coming home. Tracy offers to pick him up, but he refuses and hangs up. That night, Rock assigns him to drive Manny and himself to retrieve something. James waits outside. Minutes later, he notices someone slipping in through the back and investigates. Finding a Teflon pan nearby, he sneaks inside and sees Rock and Manny cornered. Acting quickly, James swings the pan at the intruder, giving Rock a chance to fight back. After securing a bag of contraband, Rock celebrates at a bar. James is praised for his quick thinking, and Rock calls him Jamesy Boy, officially making him part of the crew. James moves in with Rock. Crystal grows interested in him, and their relationship begins. The praise boosts James's ego, and he enjoys doing whatever he pleases. On one delivery, James drives recklessly, catching police attention. They get caught with contraband. Crystal warns James not to let his swagger ruin everything, but he shrugs it off. He's convinced no one can slow him down. This is his groove now, waiting for Rock's word, moving product, or handling problems. Rock later says what impressed him most was how James handled a rival dealer during a job and wishes the crew would follow James's lead. With trust in mind, James asks to oversee a few territories. Rock says it's not the right time. For now, James sticks to his current tasks with a promise that one day Rock will hand him an area. Not long after, James is told to collect money from a bar owner. He and his friend Drew demand payment, but the owner refuses, scoffing. "I deal with Rock, not his little schoolboy sidekick." Humiliated, James snaps, pulling a gun and firing a warning shot. Two men walk in, giving James a chance to leave before things escalate. Instead of leaving, James trashes the man's car. While doing so, he spots a bag of firearms and grabs it, thinking he can trade it later. At home, James tells Crystal what happened. She's unimpressed, warning impulsive stunts will dig his grave faster. She wishes he'd think ahead like Rock. "If you want to be like Rock, you've got to be smart," she says. James bristles at being called immature. Their argument spirals when he accuses her of being too close to Rock and other guys. Later, Rock storms in, furious. He says selling guns is more dangerous than moving contraband, and that James ruined a long-standing relationship with the bar owner. Done with the situation, Rock tells him to sell the stolen guns himself. After cooling off, James heads to a store for a drink. When the cooler is empty, his frustration boils over. The store owner, Sarah, gets nervous. And seeing her fear makes James feel guilty, calming him down. That's how they meet. Sarah never expected someone with James' reputation to have a softer side. As they talk, Sarah shares she's been working part-time since her dad lost his job. James feels surprisingly comfortable with her, and after that night, they start meeting often just to talk. He admits he wants a normal life, misses being a kid, and wishes for a day without judgment. Every room I walked into, they already knew I was a lost cause, he says. Sarah, unfazed by his past, encourages him to change course. Her friends welcome him too, inviting him to play basketball, something he hasn't done in ages. For the first time in years, James feels genuine happiness and thanks Sarah for it. Meanwhile, a lonely Crystal drifts closer to Rock, but the peace doesn't last. When Rock returns, he orders James to sell the stolen guns. He's lined up a buyer and sends James to the meet. James refuses, saying he's done with that life, but Rock calls him a coward and reminds him he'd be nothing without Rock's chance. Pressured and angry, James agrees, but insists it'll be his final job. At the meeting, James and Drew arrive in Rock's car. The deal begins with James showing the weapons, but when payment time comes, the buyers ambush them and try to escape. James fights back, firing shots that crash their car and block the road. Before recovering the guns, police sirens fill the air. It's too late. Cops surround Rock's place and arrest Rock and Crystal. James rushes to Sarah, begging her to leave town with him and start over. She refuses, saying she can't abandon her life or her parents depending on her. Reluctantly, she tells him he'll have to go without her. Hurt and confused, James heads home, hoping to see his mom and sister one last time. But before he gets the chance, police surround and arrest him. James is sentenced to 4 years, spending most of it in juvenile detention before transfer to state prison under Lieutenant Felton's supervision. Within 4 months, James builds allies thanks to his fearless demeanor, but he gains an enemy, Guerrero, whose gang clashes with James's group. Tensions erupt into fights like when Guerrero's crew bullies new inmate Chris. James steps in, not out of care for Chris, but to make a statement. Guards tense, knowing chaos follows when these groups clash. One day in the showers, Guerrero tries to stab James. Chris spots the attack and warns him, sparking another brawl. In the scuffle, a knife drops, and one of Guerrero's friends stabs Chris. Guards break it up and haul James for questioning, pressing him to reveal whose knife it was. Even knowing it belongs to Guerrero, James refuses to snitch. His silence earns him a stint in a filthy, rat-infested isolation cell. After days, he's moved next to Conrad, a lifer with a fearsome reputation. One night, James asks to borrow a book, but Conrad shuts him down. "I'm not here to make friends, Guppy." Curious, James learns Conrad killed 5 people outside and 2 inside prison. Despite warnings, James tries to connect by asking about the book. Conrad stays aloof, but James keeps talking, revealing plans to take down Guerrero. Conrad smirks, warning impulsive acts lead to regret. During a visit, Tracy shares how busy life has been and how much James's little sister misses him. She urges him to improve attitude, suggesting good behavior might get reduced sentence and home by Christmas. Her words stick. James reflects on mistakes, pouring thoughts and regrets into writing, poetry, and life story pieces. Conrad reads some and encourages him, admitting a side of James most can't see. When Chris returns from infirmary, James apologizes for involving him in the fight. Chris says his mother visits weekly and keeps him going. James advises staying out of trouble to reduce sentence. Sadly, Guerrero ambushes Chris before hearing, leaving him battered. Parole board denies him and adds 6 years. Devastated, Chris tries suicide by tying pillowcase and blanket strips. Inmates egg him on while guards scramble. James yells for him to stop. The event shakes him. Though James has hearing the next day, he lashes out, punching Guerrero. Conrad warns to control temper and that prison is unpredictable. Some criminals walk free, others with clean records don't. James listens. At hearing, he ditches tough act, speaks honestly about fears and regrets, sharing writings. Prepared for any outcome, he's ready to own his past. Against odds, honesty strikes judge. James is granted early release. Outside, his mom and sister rush into his arms, overjoyed. It's what Tracy prayed for. They finally spend Christmas together. Weeks later, James settles into normal life with a local arcade job. Paycheck is modest compared to running with Rock's crew, but honest work, until old associates tempt him to make easy money. At first, James refuses, determined to keep clean record. But after feeling disrespected, pride wins. He agrees to one last delivery. His plan? Do the job, cash out, disappear. Before carrying it out, he visits Sarah, learning she's engaged. Disappointed but no bitterness, they talk openly, letting go of past resentment. She praises his prison poems, believing in his brighter future. That night, James completes delivery, collects cut, wastes no time leaving. Next day, he and his mom move to New York, determined to start over. He takes a modest busboy job, keeping his head down. By 2011, James remains in the city, enrolled in writing and poetry classes at Manhattan Community College. Each day, he focuses less on the past and more on building a new life he's determined to create. Like and subscribe for more recaps like this.